Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Bhakti. Tomorrow is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's appearance day. 140. How much? 145th or something like that. No, 47, 48 I think. 47th. 47th or 48th. 48th I think. 1974, no? So it's 48. Huh?
48th anniversary. 49.
Yeah, 48th anniversary. Birth anniversary. English words cannot express it properly. We have to say birth anniversary. Although word birth doesn't apply to him. Srila so today we will read from Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and chanting the holy names. Although this is connected with our present series of lectures, but somewhat it is off from that, because we were supposed to take those lectures we were discussing based on Bhagavad Gita as it is purports. Chanting the holy names. I will read, maybe in between I may comment something. Generally when we are reading, concentration is difficult. If you have another copy of Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav, you can use it. Otherwise, you can try to focus. Chanting the holy names. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Glory to congregational chanting of Krishna's names. Is the Gaudiya Math sole object of worship. We will see the references. This is from Patravali 3.38, letter written on 29th October 1934. Is the Gaudiya Math sole object of worship. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So is the Gaudiya Math sole object of worship? Means basically we want to promote, what is the objective or purpose of Gaudiya Math is to promote Krishna Sankirtan. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was deeply attached to the holy names of Krishna. Whenever devotees inquired how to improve their bhakti and overcome anarthas, he usually stressed the need to chant faithfully and offenselessly, quoting Lord Chaitanya's statement, "Ya haite sarva siddhi hoibe sabar." By this alone all perfection will come. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavat 2.23.78. Ihaite sarva siddhi haibe sabar. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So what is the solution to all the problems? Our personal problems, our anarthas, is to chant Hare Krishna. So we have to faithfully chant, we have to avoid offenses, attentive chanting. we have so many problems and we want to try them by different methods. Of course, this is in relation with our spiritual life. In the material world, solution to all problems is varnashrama. Of course, for survival of varnashrama, you need to do sankirtan. Without sankirtan, varnashrama will not survive. Without keeping Krishna in the center. That was one of the reasons why Vedic culture collapsed. By not keeping Krishna in the center. But for our spiritual problems, chanting offenselessly and faithfully is the only solution. But there would be some people who just cannot take to this solution actually. It just cannot take to the solution. So then next level is varnashram. Like if brahmacharis, if they have problems, solution is grahasthashram. Actually they should try chanting offenselessly, but some or other, if it doesn't happen, then we have to take to grahasthashram. He advised, chant the Mahamantra loudly and with attachment. This will drive away inertia, worldly ills and disturbances. Chant Mahamantra loudly and with attachment. Loudly means if you are chanting japa, actually japa means soft chanting. If you are chanting with other brahmacharis, if you chant loudly, then you will disturb their japa. So loud enough to hear ourselves. Sankirtan you can be loud, as much as loud is possible. Chant Mahamantra loudly and with attachment. This will drive away inertia, worldly ills and disturbances. Inertia, worldly ills and disturbances. What are the Sanskrit terms for this? Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he used jadya. Worldly disturbances is vikshepa. Alasya, jadya and vikshepa. 3. These three are the sources of all. Means these three things means make us to be inattentive while chanting. This will drive away inertia, worldly ills and disturbances. He maintained that chanting the Lord's names is tantamount to directly seeing Him. Lord and His name are one and the same. Chanting holy names is equivalently directly experiencing Him. Now many people ask us, often these non-devotees and pseudo-spiritualists or some kind of sentimental idea of spirituality. People ask, like recently I met one NRI, Kannada wala, who is based somewhere in America, Dallas somewhere. He was roaming, he had come for vacation, roaming here. So he said to me, he asked me, Swamiji, have you seen God? Have you seen God? As though, like now all these fellows, Murgi Mission Walas, their so-called Paramahamsa Guru, they advertise that as though he has seen God. Seeing God is like a very important thing. So our acharyas, they gave importance to serving God than seeing God. And so what is the meaning of seeing means what? Here, chanting Lord's names is as good as it is tantamount to seeing Him directly. So Prabhupada used to say, when you take Hare Krishna, Hare means Radha, and Krishna is Supreme Personality of God. When you chant, when you are taking these holy names with the help of your tongue, they are dancing on our tongue. So tongue becomes platform for Rasa Leela. Krishna's Rasa Leela. He is dancing with Radha especially. Chanting the holy name is equivalent to directly experiencing him. He always emphasized Harinam as the topmost sadhana. Among all the sadhana activities, chanting Hare Krishna is highest sadhana. It is the heart of our sadhana. Okay. To make us wholly devoted to Krishna's name. To make us wholly devoted to Krishna's name, Sri Gauranga Deva, the combined form of Sri Radha Govinda, came to this world. So what was the purpose of Lord Chaitanya's appearance? To make us wholly devoted to Krishna's name, Sri Gauranga Deva. These are words of Saraswati Thakur. This is quote from Srila Prabhupada Upadeshamrita. This is fourth one is this sentence translation of portion of Bhakti Sandarbha. To make us wholly devoted to Krishna's name, Sri Gauranga Deva, the combined form of Sri Radha Govinda, came to this world. So purpose was to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his own example, he chanted Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam. He always glorifies Krishna. Krishna Varnam means by his own Apani Achare Shikaye Prabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught by his own example. So to make us wholly devoted to Krishna's name, Sri Gauranga Deva, the combined form of Sri Radha Govinda, came to this world. He assumed the form of a devotee. He appeared in the form of a devotee. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa. He came in Bhakta Rupa. Because Prabhupada, in a simple words, he would explain our Prabhupada. Here, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was also called as Prabhupada. So, founder Acharya of ISKCON, he would say, Krishna said, surrender unto me. But people, they did not understand. So Krishna personally appeared to teach us how to surrender to him. So he appeared to make us devoted to this holy name, chanting holy names. But if we disregard his teachings and show no interest in Sri Nama Seva, we will never attain auspiciousness, especially in this Kali Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the shelter. So in this Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the only shelter. All other Vaishnava, even Vaishnava Sampradayas also will die. Either they will die or they will merge into this. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur has predicted. So that is also quoted. I'll read little bit from that. So he says, the dharma preached by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is universal, not exclusive. The principle of Kirtana as future church of the world invites all classes of men, without distinction of caste or clan, to the highest cultivation of the spirit. This church, it appears, will spread worldwide and replace all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church or temple. So here Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he predicts This church, it appears, will spread worldwide and replace all sectarian churches which exclude outsiders from the precincts of the mosque, church or temple. So in this way, in Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter is the only shelter, but if we disregard him, then there will be no auspiciousness in our life. Sri Nama Sankirtan is the best sadhana. If other sadhanas help us in Krishna Sankirtan, then they deserve to be called sadhana. Now we adopt Pancharatra system, we adopt Varnashrama system. They should assist in Sankirtans, chanting. Otherwise, what's the use? Useless. So, in this way, Sankirtan is the main sadhana. If other sadhanas help us in Krishna Sankirtan, then they deserve to be called sadhana. Otherwise, they are simply impediments to sadhana. Sri Krishna Nama Sankirtan is the emperor of sadhanas. In so many ways, he is glorifying this. It is the emperor of all sadhanas. How it is emperor of all sadhanas? You see, there are sadhana means we follow some rigid system of sadhana bhakti. What is sadhana bhakti? Sadhana. So we follow rules and regulations. That is called as Vaidhi sadhana again. So vidhis are there, rules and regulations are there. Vidhi and niyama is there in sadhana. What is the highest vidhi and niyama? Padma Purana or Vishnu Purana? Padma Purana, I think. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavyam na jatchit sarve vidhi nishedashu retayor eva kinkaraha. Always remember Vishnu and never forget Vishnu. Sarve vidhi nishedashu retayor eva kinkaraha. All the rules and regulations which we follow, it is all meant for this, following this one rule of always remembering Vishnu and never forgetting Vishnu. This is the main rule, and they are supposed to assist us in that role. Therefore, here chanting Hare Krishna directly makes us to remember Krishna. Therefore, that is the emperor of all the sadhanas. It is the only infallible sadhana capable of bringing us to Siddhi. So now in other sadhanas there are so many considerations are there. Okay, for you chant Gayatri mantra. Many of the sampradayas, even Vaishnava sampradayas, their main sadhana is what? Chanting Gayatri mantra. So Brahmanical class is there. In India we see that. Their main sadhana is to chant Gayatri mantra. You are born in Brahmin and you have undergone Upanayana ceremony. So they will keep telling you that you have to always chant this. Most of them, they don't follow it. That's different. So, Hare Krishna. So, main sadhana is chanting Gayatri mantra. Actually, if you want to do Gayatri mantra sadhana, it will take 1.5 hours every day. Morning half an hour, afternoon half an hour, and evening half an hour, and before that you have to take bath another 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So you wear fresh clothes and all this kind of things. So like that, it is their main sadhana. Then there are so many rules and regulations to follow, and whenever we don't follow them, there will be offenses. So many of. So this is infallible sadhana. Of course, Dashanama Aparada is there in this also. But as you go on chanting only will make us free from this aparadas. And in fact, it is told in Padma Purana that all the offenses which we commit while doing other spiritual practices, other sadhanas, will be mitigated by chanting holy names. Then how to overcome offenses in chanting? Only by chanting only. There is no other way. Of course, you can analytically study each of the offenses and take care that with your knowledge, take care that you don't do those offenses. But even if you are not so intelligent enough, just go on chanting, then eventually you will become free from. Of course, we have to hear also before chanting, it comes hearing. So that's why we say it should be heard from pure devotees. We should take Upadesha from pure devotees. But it is the most infallible. Only infallible sadhana capable of bringing us to Siddhi. Another thing is, here infallible is used in a sense that other sadhanas may give you result or may not give you result, but this is sure shot to give you result. That is the meaning of infallible sadhana, if you adopt it. Sriman Mahaprabhu did not speak of teaching Archana, but in his Sikshastaka he taught Nama Bhajana. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote only few verses, 8 verses, and few other verses he has said, like Naham Vipro na Chanarapati na Bhi Vaishyo na Shudro. They are found in Padyavali, which is an anthology of verses from different sources. So Sriman Mahaprabhu, he did not teach Archana. What he taught? He taught Nama Bhajana. Although in Kali Yuga other limbs of bhakti should be performed, they should be accompanied by bhakti denoted by kirtana. So this statement is from Bhaktisandarbha, because Jiva Goswami, one of the Shat Sandarbhas, Bhaktisandarbha, he said that in Kali Yuga we may perform other limbs of sadhana or spiritual practices like Archana or Varnashrama, but they have to be performed accompanied by Kirtana. Otherwise they will not give results, Jiva Goswami has said. Because although Bhagavatam, in the Shastra it is said Sankirtan is the means of Dharma, but still other practices have to be performed. Like when Karbhajan Muni described Yuga Dharma of Dwapara Yuga, he mentioned Kalau api, he says, even in Kali Yuga this Archana is done, he says. So Dwapara Yuga, what is the process? It is Archana, elaborate deity worship. 6 times a day you have to take bath and go to temple and worship. So elaborate temple worship was there. So he mentions even in Kali Yuga people will do this. But then he says about chanting holy names. So in Kali Yuga Archana will go on, but Nama Bhajana is important. Krishna and Krishna Nama are not two entities. So this quote is from Srila Prabhupada Upadeshamrita 274. Krishna and Krishna Nama are not two entities. Krishna in his holy name, the holy name is Krishna. Krishna Nama is the son of Nanda, Shyama Sundara. Our only devotional service and duty is Sri Krishna Nama Sankirtan. This understanding is auspicious. So whatever else, then what we do, so many things. We chant only 2 hours. Why we do other things? Our acharyas, like we see Saraswati Thakura in this essay, we will see again in the future as we go on reading. Prabhupada also, in the beginning he told, you chant 64 rounds. Whom he tells? I think it is Shyama Sundara or Mukunda Maharaj now, Mukunda Goswami. That time he was Mukunda Das. He said told to chant 64 rounds. He said impossible. Then he told, okay, 32 rounds. That also not possible, he said. But not less than 16, he said. At least 16 rounds, Prabhupada, he said. Our acharyas wanted us to chant more, but we can't chant. Therefore, they have given us some daily devotional activities to fill our day, engage our mind, senses and words. So in this way, therefore 64, there are there is what is that? Ekanga Bhakti and Bahuanga Bhakti. So they have filled our day with all these many limbs of devotional service. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nivesha. Some other way, fill our mind with Krishna or fix mind on Krishna. So, but ultimately we should know Nama Bhajana is the so that is that understanding should be there. A Pandita who apparently considered chanting Harinama an elementary practice for neophyte spiritualists asked, "Why are you chanting Harinama so much?" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati replied with an exemplum that a young child first learns to write A, B, C. If when older he is writing A, B, C is an algebra equation, his grandmother may ask why he is still studying at the same level as when he was 5 years old. You know this story. Our Prabhupada used to tell this story. So she thought that, oh, this fellow, he is so much grown up, still he is in elementary level of learning language, A, B, C. She does not see what appears to be same exercise is actually on a significantly higher platform. So this quote is from, this analogy appears in Upakhyan Upadesha. It is there in Upadesha. You understood this? What was the argument of the Pandita? What he said? Tell what you understood.
He said, you are chanting, but this is a very basic practice for neophytes.
Then what is the practice for advanced people? According to why he asked this question? Because that is the cause why he asked.
He thinks studying, Pandita means he thinks studying and all.
No, got it wrong. Actually, Smaranam is considered as very high level, even in Gaudiyas. Smratyo, what is that verse is there? No. Smartavya is there. Remembrance. What is that verse? 8th verse of Upadeshamrita. Thannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanano Smratyo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Kalam Naye Dedakilam Tishtam Raje Tadanuragi Jananugami Kalam Naye Dedakilam Ityupadesha Saram. That is the essence of Upadesha. Smratyo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojya Kalam Naye Dedakilam. 24 hours you have to do Smarana. Among Gaudiyas also, there are many people, Panditas like this, who think that those who chant Japa or do Sankirtan loudly, they are considered as neophytes. Smarana. You see in that purport if you go. Saraswati Thakura also explains, Prabhupada quotes Saraswati Thakura in his purport Upadeshamrita, Shravana Dasha, and ultimately Smarana Dasha and all this kind of different dashas are discussed. So among Gaudiyas also, doing Smarana is considered as very high level of advanced level, because Mrityo, that is at the stage of attachment actually. At that time you don't need to even chant japa also. Like you see, gopis, what they did. They were constantly remembering Krishna actually. So Krishna is going in the forest, but their mind is going behind Krishna. Okay, Krishna is now here near Govardhan. Oh, his legs may be pricking with all these small stones, pebbles, and some thorns. Mind is always behind Krishna actually, because they are attached to Krishna. At the stage of attachment, asakti it is called as. 8th stage or 9th stage it is? No. Seventh stage, asakti, bhava and prema. In that stage, what happens? 24 hours you can remember Krishna only. So, many Panditas in Gaudiya Sampradaya, they think that this chanting and Sankirtan is meant for neophytes, and we are very advanced. So, we do Smarana actually. So, but artificially, if you imitate that stage, then what will happen? Whatever little Smarana is there, that will also be destroyed. Smarana means, you know these so-called meditators, meditation they do. They think that they are experiencing some samadhi and all those things, but we know they are sleeping or they are doing some mental speculation. Right? So similarly, if you imitate that artificially, Prabhupada said, you will think of woman, eat more and fall down, like that he said. So this is how he is doing rebuttal of that point now, Saraswati Thakur. Sometime you may see advanced acharya like Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, instead of doing smarana, they are doing chanting, or doing sankirtan, or they are doing preaching activity. So they may be considered as neophytes. Like even Saraswati Thakur went not first time, when he went in 1932, I think, 30 or 32. He went to, and many Babajis came to hear from him. Oh, great Gaudiya Acharya has come. Deliberately, Saraswati Thakur, what he did? He started speaking on Upanishads. Then they said, oh, he is not Acharya, he is Gaudiya Acharya, he is some Jnani. And all Babajis went away. So, they expect that he should speak some rasa vichara, rasa tattva and all these kind of things. But then he spoke Upanishads, basic philosophy. So in this way, our acharyas may not be engaged in smarana, they may be engaged. But here this example is given here, story. So child is learning ABCD, and someone who is writing algebra, he also writes a square plus b square, but it is not the same ABCD, right? So this is how he explained. What appears to be the same exercise is actually on a significantly higher platform. So next, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati explained, chanting Hare Krishna is postgraduate dharma. Just as you never weary of calling your children's names every day, when we chant the names of Krishna with love, we don't become jaded. Nama Gane Sada Ruchi. Devotees are characterized by unceasing taste for reciting the holy names. Now, this is from BRS 1325. No, that Nama Gane Sada Ruchi. So this is one, okay, now advanced people, those who are on Asakti Bhava stage, they should meditate on. They should be meditating or remembering. Smarana they should be doing. Okay, that is one side, okay. But how you will decide that this devotee is doing meditation on Krishna actually? How we will understand that? How we will understand that? What is the test of one's advancement? Then, okay, this is there. Smarana is one thing. There are other symptoms also, crying, hair standing on one end, voice becoming rolling on the ground, Anyone can imitate them. Crying happens even on material platform also. Prabhupada explained in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Generally we think that in the first chapter there is nothing much. So Arjuna's crying is not because of some transcendental realization, spiritual realization. It is on material platform. It is on the platform of ignorance, material affection. Because Arjuna was also crying. Of course, there are both there, because he was pure devotee also. So the thing is, how we will determine one is on the stage of bhava. Because these symptoms of bhava are there. These are sattvika bhavas. There are different kinds of bhavas. Sthayi bhava, sattvika bhava, sanchari bhava, vyabhichari bhava. So these are called sattvika bhavas. 4 kinds of bhavas are there. These are sattvika bhavas. So crying, hair standing, there are 8 sattvika bhavas there. Therefore they are called as ashta sattvika bhavas. So how we will decide? So therefore Rupa Goswami in the 18th chapter, 18th or 17th chapter I think, Bhava Bhakti. So he said, there are 9 characteristics of Bhava Bhakti which will distinguish between real Bhava and fake Bhava. So what are those 9 characteristics? Kshantiravvyartha kalatvam, viraktirmana shunyata, asha bandha samutkanta, namagane sadaruchi, asaktis tadgunakyane pritis tadvasati stale. These are the 9 characteristics which distinguish. So these are the 9 characteristics which will distinguish. You will be able to identify based on these 9 characteristics who is a genuine bhava. First one is kshantir. Kshanti means, what is the meaning of kshanti? Who will tell? Perseverance. Perseverance means even in difficulties he will not give up Krishna consciousness. He will endeavor. Just like Parikshit Maharaj. Example is given by Rupa Goswami. In 7 days he is about to die. He was cursed to die in 7 days. But how is his focus in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? Now you people are not predicted like that, cursed like that, right or not? But still we don't focus. At the time of death there will be so much disturbed mind. Or for example some health problem comes. Then everything collapses. We become so disturbed about body. Everything stops. But that is kshantir. Avyartha kalatvam. He does not like to waste any time. So like this there are. And one of the quality is namagane sadaruchi. He has taste for chanting the holy names. Chanting. Therefore, chanting Hare Krishna is postgraduate dharma, Saraswati Thakura said. Just as you never weary of calling your children's name every day, when we chant the names of Krishna with love, we don't become jaded. Prabhupada used to tell, our Prabhupada, that what is the meaning of quality chanting or actual taste in chanting? He would say, devotee after chanting 16 rounds, he would feel, why only 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds? That is taste, he said. Like that, Prabhupada in one conversation, he gave elaborate meaning of what is quality chanting. That feeling should come, that feeling. Like, okay, sometime you had service in the morning time. Morning, we have japa session, 5:15 to 7:15 like that, in ISKCON. That time you had some service. Of course, we should chant before Mangalarti. That is good. But somehow or other, okay, you didn't chant. Then when you After morning prasadam, you start chanting. That time will be test how much nama gane sada ruchi you have. That feeling should come. Why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds? Like that feeling. That is chanting. Or another way, Prabhupada he used to tell that the day when you chant properly, with taste and quality, you will feel that you have never chanted before. That is quality chanting. Oh, all these days I am chanting, but actually I am not chanting. Like that feeling should. That means quality chanting. That means you have relished something new rasa in chanting that day. Devotees are characterized by unceasing taste for reciting the holy names. We want to chant more and more. So anyway, I told. This story is told by Jatishekar Prabhu, Pandita story. Okay, now another section is coming here. This was general Sankirtan. In Sankirtan, Kirtan. In the early days of the mission, Srila Saraswati Thakura occasionally led Kirtan. However, not being very musically adept, later on he did not lead Kirtan or play instruments, but simply joined in singing with others. He didn't have musical mind. So, musical skills. He is a philosopher. You can see his writings, philosophy and his lectures. So different devotees do kirtan in different way. His kirtan is speaking Krishna Katha, speaking philosophy. What all he quoted. Other day on Nityanand Trayodasi, I was reading Chaitanya Bhagavat. Avaduta. Nityanand Prabhu is called as Avaduta. What is the meaning of Avaduta? Then he quotes three evidences. One is Vallabhacharya's statement he quotes. Another quote is Siddhanta Pratipa. And another quote is Shabdasara. In one small purport, in this much purport, he quotes three Shastras. Three sources, authoritative sources. We don't even know what are these Shabdasara, what is this Siddhanta Pratipa. He is a philosopher. Prabhupada used to call him. He is a living encyclopedia. He knew so much Shastra. And he was Shrutidhara. Just by reading once he would remember everything. He could tell without seeing the book passages together. Without seeing the book. By his previous reading. Okay. He would say, if you don't know how to sing, open your lips anyway and recite the holy name. Even if you don't sing expertly, chanting the name is kirtan. So, sometimes we tend to become too much musical. Like we have one temple here on the hill in Bangalore. They are always concerned with music. Okay, that is one part. And they bring all this music, those who are musicians, and engage them in doing kirtan. That is not our acharya's mode. Our acharya's is, okay, you can do music. If you learn music, it is fine. You can serve Krishna with better. But the main focus should be, music should not distract us, our focus on holy names, chanting holy names. Therefore, we have to keep simple things. Mridanga, Kartal. And if there is huge crowd, you can use that little, what they are called, janjar, wampars, jhajer or lol. If you don't know how to sing, open your lips anyway and recite the holy name. Even if you don't sing expertly, chanting the name is kirtan. Of course, we should at least play a proper mridanga kartal also. So, for the pleasure of the Lord, Lord should not run away from here. What is happening here? Torture. That much at least we should learn. He spelled out the necessity and method of performing Hari Kirtana. Hari Kirtana is the perpetual and natural function of the faculties of Jiva in the state of freedom from all affinities to this changeable world, because the absolute truth is identical with Hari. Hari Kirtana, this word he defines. Who is Hari? Hari is absolute truth. So then what is the function? This is Sanatana Dharma. In other words, he is speaking it in other words. Sanatana Dharma. Perpetual and natural function. Sanatana Dharma. How you translate Sanatana Dharma. Of faculties of Jiva in the state of freedom, affinities. That is Hari Kirtana. Hari has to be served exclusively, constantly, and by all faculties of the soul. The only function of the voice is to chant Hari Kirtana, which is non-different and inseparable from simultaneous service to Hari by all the other senses. One who does not employ his voice incessantly and exclusively in chanting Hari Kirtana has no access to Hari Seva by any other means. So here chanting gives us opportunity, means eligibility to do other services. So he says, if we don't chant, then we will not be engaged in Krishna service. We will be engaged in Maya service, basically. So therefore, chanting in the morning is very important. Therefore, Hari Kirtana must be chanted while being humbler than a blade of grass. There can be no streak of worldly vanity or seeking after any worldly advantage. So both bhoga and tyaga. This worldly vanity means tyaga it is. And worldly advantage means bhoga. So we should give up both. The only object should be to please Hari. This is from 9th, means it is from SCT. What is SCT? Let me see. Yes, it is not given. You can note down that maybe guide to references, SCT has to be defined. Guide to references. Okay, he insisted that Kirtan should not degenerate into an artistic show for sense gratification. So professional Kirtaniyas, they make it as very musical and try to make attractive for people with sense gratificatory tendencies. Kirtana performed for sensual satisfaction is not Hari Kirtana. Kirtana is not to be performed only through melodies, musical tunes, chimes, and the like. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has not asked us to be proficient in high-class music and well practiced in the ears of accomplished musicians. He asked us to always perform Hari Kirtana. That which is meant for glorifying the mundane senses is not Hari Kirtana. That by which Krishna's senses are satisfied is Hari Kirtana. Too much. Our Bhaktivinoda Thakura also was not in favor of too much musical and too many tunes also. Nowadays tendency is cinema songs they will take, and with that tune they want to sing Hare Krishna. So that's not good. So this quote is from Srila Prabhupada Upadeshamrita 402 and SCT 84. Too much. There are tunes actually which has to be sung in different times. They can be learnt. Traditional. So morning, what tune has to be sung? Evening, what tune has to be sung? They should be learnt. Although many Bengalis and Orias were virtuoso singers and musicians, those who joined the Gaudiya Math were not encouraged to perform in showy manner typical of mundane kirtaniyas. So Bengalis and Orias, because it has been generations now, kirtan is going on. So they would be very much into all this music, etc. But those who joined Gaudiya Math, Bengalis and all, they were told to sing in a simple way. Gaudiya Math Kirtanas were performed in distinctive Bengali style, yet in a relatively uncomplicated manner, sans much of the intricacy common in Bengali Kirtan. So, distinctive Bengali style. So, our acharyas have developed some kind of style, like Narottam Das Thakur has started this Gadai Giri style of Kirtan. So like that. So in a simple and uncomplicated manner. Mridangas and kartals were the principal instruments, with gongs and jampa. Gong means, no? Yeah, that one. And jampa means? Yeah, wampers. Big hand cymbals. Also used, and especially in kirtans during artis, the temple bell was rung in time to the beat. Other instruments often used in Bengali kirtans such as harmonium, violin, yasraj, a stringed instrument resembling a lute, were proscribed. Harmonium. Prabhupada used harmonium, and he basically told you can use it for bhajans, but not for kirtans, standing kirtans, etc. But other acharyas were against it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Saraswati Thakur. Harmonium is not an Indian also. It's not a Vedic instrument. So here harmonium, violin and esraj were banned. But the Ramasimha, a long brass horn. How is that Ramasimha? How it looks? This one, I think. Or like this one, I don't know. And large drums, you all can find it. Large drums were sometimes played during festivals. Srila Saraswati Thakur did not approve the khol players simply become absorbed in pounding out elaborate beats and not also sing in kirtan, and would instruct thus erring disciples to join in the chanting. Now sometime while playing mridanga, you get into that complicated beat, but you don't do, you don't sing kirtan, you don't chant. Then Saraswati Thakur would correct them. Chant karke. Srila Saraswati Thakur warned that ability to sing sweetly or to consummately play an instrument or becoming highly learned or an attractive speaker would tend to attract women and prestige and thus could undermine a devotee's service mood or cause him to become victimized by praise and appreciation. There is a reference to this. See also two successive paragraphs in volume 2, page 159 and 60. I have not brought the volume 2. We'll go ahead. So we should not get into this kind of attitude, right? We have to be careful. Too much specialization in something may bring. We should never lose our service attitude. One of Srila Saraswati Thakur's disciples had a natural fondness for performing kirtan, but because his voice was nasal, gruff, and wholly unmusical, he was often discouraged by his godbrothers, some of whom mocked his off-key croaking. Yet Srila Saraswati Thakur encouraged him to go on singing. All the same, in one lecture he suggested that for the sake of attracting worldlings to Harikatha Kirtan could be rendered in a sensually pleasing manner. Kirtana means a recitation that bestows eligibility to hear about spiritual subject matters. But at present we are so averse to service of Bhagavan that we are not prepared to hear Kirtan unless it pleases our senses. That is why there is an arrangement to glorify Hari by melodious songs. For those who have no interest in hearing about Hari except in the form of songs, we sing the glories of Hari so that they receive the message, just as a bitter pill is coated with sugar. People have already made up their mind that they will hear anything but Hari Katha. For their benefit, we have to perform Hari Kirtana. A mustard cake and salt is mixed with a cow's food when she does not want to eat. We mix pleasing songs with Hari Katha so that it will be attractive to all. For this purpose, some hearing of songs about Rai Kanu can be allowed to engage people's propensity for hearing songs. Kirtana is meant for attracting the audience toward hearing. Some may say that Krishna is immoral or just another historical personality. So what is the use of hearing about him? We prefer to hear about heroic activities of Napoleon. To relieve people from such mentality, Krishna Kirtan is necessary. As deer and snakes can be charmed by music and songs, if Harikatha is presented in the form of songs, then even the minds of materialists would be attracted. Proper Kirtan means to reject dry, unauthorized and adverse Kirtan. So that's why these acharyas have written lots of songs. That is all philosophy of Krishna consciousness, but it can be given in the form of music. Like some time back we sang those 14 or 15 songs. Shoka Satana, that which destroys lamentation. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings. So like that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a lot of songs, hundreds of songs. So we give philosophy in a musical way. Like that song is there, right? Bhajahure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhay Charana Ravinda. Oh, this is another 10 page. We could read only 4 pages. An incident in Srila Saraswati Thakur's childhood had much influenced his attitude toward kirtan and music. He was with his father at Bhakti Bhavan. Bhakti Bhavan is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house in Kolkata. When the brothers Vijendranath and Rabindranath, sons of famous spiritualist and philosopher Debendranath Tagore, this famous Rabindranath Tagore, a long-standing dear friend of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, visited in 1881. At that time, Rabindranath, who was barely 20 years old, recited a song about Krishna. Now he is considered as Rashtra Kavi in India, no? Rabindranath Tagore. He was contemporary of elder, senior to Saraswati Thakur. But they were sons of Debendranath Tagore, who was friend of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At that time, Rabindranath, who was barely 20 years old, recited a song about Krishna. Srila Saraswati Thakur later commented that his own strong indifference to hearing music became much reduced after experiencing Rabindranath's very sweet voice and lucid enunciation of each word. He said that in his early childhood he had heard many traditional kirtanias rendering of songs on Krishna Lila, but found their pronunciation unclear and was not impressed by their displays of musicianship in tune, measure and rhythm. He was interested in the words of songs. So we started, no? Saraswati Thakur was not so much musically adept. So who have contributed in that? Rabindranath and all these professional kirtaniyas have contributed. So he became frustrated with this too much musical rendition of kirtans. So sometimes we do all this, even Mradanga Kartal, if that is loud, then actual chanting, recitation of the names, it is not good. We have to hear the sound. Like other day I was doing Mangalarti and Prabhuji was singing and his voice was so low, he is not opening his mouth only. And only I was hearing this. His mridanga beating. Should loudly sing, no? A major element of traditional Bengali kirtan is akaras, added lines that are not part of the main composition but which elucidate or emphasize points in the song. For instance, in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Gaur Arati, the well-known akaras are Gaurange Rarati Kashoba Jagajana Manaloba. You know, Bengalis, they mix these akaras. Prabhupada also did that. If you hear Prabhupada's, what is that? Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani. Kevala. Parama Karuna Paudijana Nitai Gaura Chandra. Sabha Avatara Sara Shiromani Kevala Anandakanda. Prabhupada adds Ram Narsimha Vara Kurma Sabhavatare Rasar, something like that. It's nice singing it. And Shanka Baje, Ganta Baje, Madhur 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 Baje. This Gaurange Rarati Kashoba, it is added just after first line, I think, right? First stanza. Gaurange Rarati Kashoba Jagajana Manaloba. It is added after first line.
We do like that also and little later also at the end also.
In several of his compositions, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has designated special akaras to be sung. Although akaras may also be added arbitrarily or extemporaneously by the lead singer, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati did not approve of this, but recommended that devotees sing only original songs and akaras given by Vaishnava Acharyas. So we should not go on adding so many, adding. There was one devotee from Assam in our temple, in that previous temple where I lived. And he would add so many things. Once I went and in Gaurarti only, why you are adding all this like that? He didn't like it. When proficient outside singers would come to Gaudiya Math or to one of his public functions desiring to sing, like here also one fellow stopped coming because we didn't allow him to sing. He was a singer. Recently once he came. You have met him for book distribution. Srila Saraswati Thakur would have them chant Nama Sankirtan, especially Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He did not like that devotional compositions be sung by persons who did not follow regulatory principles. He said that Kirtana is meant for Krishna Kirti, not as a recital for general entertainment. Gaudiya Kirtan tradition was replete with thousands of songs, mostly describing the forms, qualities and pastimes of Krishna, Gauranga and their associates and intimate desires to serve them. Yet Kirtana within the Gaudiya Math consisted mainly of less esoteric compositions. Several songs of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur formed the basis of the Gaudiya Math liturgy, along with some by Narottam Das Thakur and others. So there are many songs very esoteric and all. So they should not be also sung. Like one Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he recited when he came to Navadvip from Vrindavan in 1900, and just after that he initiated Saraswati Thakur. So Saraswati Thakur said it should not be published in our books. But Gaudiya Math went on to publish later after the departure of Saraswati Thakur. Being preachers, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Narottam had penned many songs meant to help devotees at the stage of sadhana bhakti to systematically progress towards professional stage of prema. Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur deemed such compositions suitable for regular recitable within the Gaudiya Math. Apart from those songs that comprised daily liturgy, he often had disciples sing selections from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that vocalized sentiments and aspirations suitable for devotees in sadhana bhakti. He stated that early morning chanting of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Kirtana beginning with Bhajare Bhajare Amar Mana Ati Manda is commensurate to stomping the mind with shoes, and that devotees should always remember it to help them overcome the uncontrolled mind. Bhajare Bhajare Amar Mana Ati Manda. Among Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's confidential songs expressing devotion in the state of sadhya, two were stipulated for daily chanting by all disciples during Mangalarti and Sandhya Arti, respectively, that beginning Balare Gora Gadadhar Arati Nehari and that beginning Jaya Jaya Radha Krishna Yugala Milana. Sometimes Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would request one of his closest associates to sing him other esoteric compositions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, such as those beginning Amito Swananda Sukadavasi and Radha Kunda Tata Kunja Kutira. While pointing to his disciples towards the ultimate goal, Srila Saraswati Thakur insisted that unless suitably qualified, they should not concentrate on compositions articulating the highest devotional emotions, and especially not on those describing transcendental eroticism. Similarly, he maintained that devotional dances should not be enacted on stage, but performed only in temples before and for the pleasure of deity of Krishna. He disallowed for public recitation many songs likely to be erogenous for all but advanced devotees. Among such restricted compositions was the well-known and exquisitely beautiful exordial song from Sri Gita Govinda, Mangala Geetam. You know Mangala Geetam, no? Shita Kamala Kuchala Mangala Hai. In which only first line, Shita Kamala Kucha Mandala, was somewhat erotic. Kamala Kucha means breaths of, Kamala means Lakshmi Devi. In ISKCON it is sung. Very wildly. He who rests on the breasts of the goddess of fortune. Yet in the mid-1930s, he introduced the singing during Kartik, the Ashtakaliya Leela Kirtanas from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajana Rahasya, albeit they and their accompanying commentaries were recited only among devotees, not publicly. Thenceforth, during each Kartik, disciples at all levels participated in hearing Bhajana Rahasya up to the 4th verse. Only a few particularly advanced disciples were permitted to recite or discuss the kirtanas and commentaries on the remaining stanzas. Sometime in 1913, a kirtani arrived announced at the house that Sri Siddhanta Saraswati was renting in Calcutta. But when he chanted Bhuvana Mohini Radhe, O Radha, enchantress of the world, Sri Siddhanta Saraswati immediately objected. This is Siddhanta Viruddha, again a scriptural conclusion. Radha is the enchantress Mohini of the mind of the enchanter of the spiritual world, Krishna, and thus may be correctly called Bhuvana Mohana Mohini. Bhuvana Mohana Mana Mohini. So Bhuvana Mohini is an epithet for Durga. A parallel description of Bhuvana Mohana Mana Mohini is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita 1.495. Madana Mohana Mohini. That. He then expounded at length an unauthorized Rupanuga Kirtana of the name of Radha and spoke against cheating Prakrata Sahajas in their over-enthusiasm to chant her name. So in Bengal this problem is there, and it can come in ISKCON also. There are so many songs written by Bengalis, and there are so many books written about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They have their own books, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu biographies, which don't follow the authorized. We have to be careful with that. Of course, because you all don't know Bengali, so no much problem. But those who learn Bengali, they should be careful with all this kind of so many things, hodgepodge things. Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki. Srila Prabhupada ki.
That Rabindranath Tagore, he sang some song of Krishna. I wrongly understood that at that time Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur started appreciating music. I also heard it.
You can read it again, no? You see this. At that time, Rabindranath, who was barely 20 years old, recited a song about Krishna. Srila Saraswati Thakur later commented that his own strong indifference to hearing music became much reduced after experiencing Rabindranath's sweet, very sweet voice and lucid enunciation of each word. He said that in his early childhood he had heard many traditional kirtanias renderings of songs in Krishna Lila, but found their pronunciation unclear and was not impressed by their displays of musicianship in tune, measure and rhythm. He was interested in words of songs. It is like that? How you feel this after?
The difference was reduced after hearing, and it is said sweet and lucid.
Pronunciation was clear.
Okay. Commented on his own strong indifference to hearing music, much reduced word is there. I felt it is reduced to indifference. Sorry for that. I should ask sorry to Rabindranath Tagore also.
Is he considered a Vaishnava?
Oh, all hodgepodge. He has written, how can he be considered as Vaishnava? He has written song glorifying what is called as national anthem today, which is such a foolishness of Indians actually. Indians have become they don't have any their self-respect, which was written for glorifying some British fellow. That they made it as national anthem actually. The Indians have lost their Indianness so much actually. Rascals they have become much. Jagajana Mana Loba, what is that? Rashtra Vidata, Bhagya Vidata. He is glorifying him as the giver of fortune. Anyway, they are foolish.
At least he was into nationalism. Some kind of nationalism.
Yes, everyone. They are all hodgepodge mixed. He has written about everyone, Durga, everyone, Kali. Songs about Kali, everyone. And all this nationalism, these kind of things.
And then I think Bangladesh or some kind
Why these people are appreciated? The main thing is nationalism. Okay, there is a struggle to keep the nation together. So nationalism has to be emphasized. Dharma. Nationalism has become dharma. Now Hindutva is equated with nationalism.
I heard he wrote national anthem for even Bangladesh also.
Bangladesh, nahi, he just wrote it for Bengalis and then they adopted it. Bangladesh became only in 1971 by the time he had died.
He must be scholarly, huh?
Obviously.
Although hodgepodge, but
Obviously.
even back then the level of scholarliness was very different. So he didn't make that the national anthem. Later Indians they have done. He just wrote it for that in Bangladesh.
No, even Indian national anthem also, he wrote it for glorifying that British, I don't know who was that, some lord. Chalo, leave it. People will criticize us for not knowing the details about national anthem. Actually, most of Indians, they may not be knowing that.